but no. I know we ordered more. They're getting longer. It was on all the time before. So I forget. Huh? Yeah, but I forget. And it's gonna be a learned habit to forget every time now. So I'll try not to breathe heavy. Just- Oh, yeah, right. I gotta bring this up. Uh, Oh,
It is 6 o'clock. There goes my alarm. 6 o'clock. Welcome tonight to our August 28th meeting. Sarah, could you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Spriggs.
Here.
Councilmember Jacobs. Here. Councilmember Biskins. Here. Mayor Marquez Simula.
Here, thank you. And welcome to those here inside the council chambers. If you would like to speak during the public hearing or later at the community forum, there are forms on the table by the door by the windows. You can fill that in and then hand those to Sarah Ian here at the front. And if you are on Zoom, you'll be able to speak as well during those portions, and you'll just have to send a message to the moderator with your name, but we'll address that as we get to that part of the meeting. First, I'll read our mission statement. Columbia Heights is a vibrant and healthy and connected city. We are here to actively support the community, develop equitable services, build and strengthen connections, improve upon our past, and uphold our successes. We strive to be better and ensure Columbia Heights is a great place for everyone today and in the future. Now, will you please join me if you're able to in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, if
Yes.
we could wait a moment for the cable to catch up.
Oh, sure. No
Thank you.
problem.
Mayor, would you be amenable to coming back at 6:05 to
Sure
see
thing, yeah.
if we can get the audio and video feed on cable at that time?
Sure, we'll just take a recess until 6:05.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
There is coffee and cookies in the central place room.
So to everyone in attendance, sorry if you're on Zoom, but the Central Place, which is right across the hallway, has coffee and cookies. So we're gonna take a little break here. If anybody would like to get coffee and cookies, you're welcome to grab them, and you can still even bring them in here. So we'll have you back in the meeting.
Good news, we do have a cable feed again.
All right, I'll bring us all back to the meeting then. We have our tech all ready to go, Sarah said. All right. Next, may I have an approval of the agenda by the council?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bizkins and a second by Councilmember Spriggs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next, we have proclamations, and we're actually having an adjustment. Two of the proclamations will be at our next council meeting, the Constitution Week and Hispanic Heritage Month. Even though it is the month, you'd think it'd be all the month of September, but Hispanic Heritage Month is half of September and half of October. So we're going to do that proclamation on September 11th as it's closer to the actual date. And so today we are just doing the Suicide Prevention Month proclamation. Oh, and also the Constitution Week proclamation is also in the middle of September. And generally our police department brings this to the attention of the mayor to have a proclamation. But this month, the Daughters of the American Revolution actually sent an email, and our Heights Next Garden Blooming Sunshine has worked for many years with the Daughters of the American Revolution. And so they're going to come and receive the Constitution Week proclamation on September 11th as well. So next is our Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Proclamation for the month of September 2023. Whereas September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and is intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. The simple goal is to learn how to help those around us and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas according to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, with more than 48,000 people dying by suicide annually in the United States. Whereas the city of Columbia Heights is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, PAC leaders, police officers, and parents as partners in supporting our community and simply being available to one another. Whereas local organizations and national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, and mental health responders are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain too taboo a topic to speak on. And whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. And whereas we encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next few days, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, message, handshake, or hug can go a long way towards helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Amada Marcus Simula, Mayor of Columbia Heights, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2023 to be National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the city of Columbia Heights, County of Anoka, State of Minnesota, USA. Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. And these items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted as part of the consent agenda by one motion. Items removed from consent agenda approval will be taken up as a next order of business. Does anyone on the council have items they'd like to remove?
I would like to remove item 1 and item 7, please.
All right. I would like to remove item 5. Other council members? No? All right then. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as adjusted?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Spriggs. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Next, we have item number 1, approving the August 7th council minutes. And Councilmember Jacobs, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to request in paragraph 8, The lower part of the paragraph reads, "The mayor stated that she was ready to take a vote on how the council wants to proceed with the process of hiring a city manager." It also includes Councilmember Spriggs, James, and Mayor Marquez Simula stated that they are in favor of using an outside firm to search for an external candidate for city manager. I would like added that Councilmember Biskins and Jacobs oppose that. I'd also like to make a request that in the future or moving forward, whether it be by consensus or by a vote, that all council members be named. I don't think that requires a motion, but if it does, I'll do so.
All right. Do we need a motion to change the minutes? All right, then may I have a second to Councilmember Jacobs' motion to make that adjustment? I don't know if we should make a vote that we always have to list everyone's name.
Well, that's separate.
Okay.
That's a separate issue. That's a
Okay.
second issue.
Should we put
I
that
would
on a
like
work
I
session
just like
maybe?
the addition of both Councilmember Biskins and myself added to that list of designated council members.
Okay,
I think that makes it more transparent and it's easier for the public to understand when they read that.
sure. I can understand that. Anything to add? All right. All right, then I have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs, and did you have a second? And a second by Councilmember Biskins? Any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes to change the minutes.
And then looking at our attorney, he said that there was no motion required for a request to include all names. Is that correct?
You can make a motion if you'd like right now, or you can discuss it in the next work session about.
Okay,
doing
I'm,
that.
I'm happy
yeah.
with either way, whatever the mayor would desire.
Yeah, I just offered we could talk it at the next
Okay.
work session, so
All right, thank you.
let's do that. Aaron, can you make a note of that since you're sitting interim city manager? Thank you.
And then you're going to go to 5 and then we'll go.
Yep, and then we'll go to number 5, because we do these in order, the numeral order, not the order that they've been brought up. So item number 5 is adopt resolution 2023-45, accepting Safe Streets for All grant agreement for development of a citywide safety action plan. I wanted to bring this up, and Aaron, I don't know if you're able to talk on this at all?
I think, Madam Mayor, we can certainly discuss the details, and thankfully, we do have the city engineer in the meeting this evening who could probably provide the greatest level of
Okay.
expertise on this matter. Thank you.
Great. Well, I wanted to remove this off the consent agenda because I have been asking for this and the council's been asking for this Safe Streets plan to come to the city for, I think, it's been a while, I would say 18 months. So I'm very excited about this. When we have something on a consent agenda, we just all say yes or no to everything. And I really wanted to make sure that the community knew about this. People who have asked for stop signs, people who have asked about speeding, people who've asked about speed bumps, roundabouts, narrowing roads, widening roads, sidewalks, all the ways that people move around our city. All of those topics are going to be looked at with the Safer Streets Plan. Is that correct? And if you could come up, Salman, and just kind of give us a quick overview. The council will discuss this at our next work session on September 5th, Tuesday, September 5th. But wanted to give a heads up to the community that if you have any traffic, trails, or movement questions that you want to answer or give us ideas of, you're welcome to email all of the council with those, as we will be discussing this as we go into this Safe Streets for All grant and plan. Thank you I know it was kind of a surprise, so I'm glad, of course, our staff is prepared, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So what you have in front of you is kind of the grant agreement for the Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan grant. So really the next step with that, after we sign it in the city here, is going to go down to Washington, DC at the FHWA headquarters. And so the agreement is not fully executed until that final signature from FHWA is on the agreement. And so that could take, we've been told it could take 1 to 2 months. So it's not the division staff here in Minnesota that will be doing that. Again, it will be sent over to Washington, DC. In addition to that, we also have to wait for NEPA approval. So NEPA it stands for the National Environmental Policy Act. So that is a federal regulation. So any project that has federal funds attached to it, you are required to produce a NEPA document. And so MnDOT, who basically works on behalf of FHWA to process NEPA documents, what they're planning to do is they're planning to do a bulk approval for all 12 agencies who have been awarded grant funds through the Safe Streets for All program. And so they're still in the process of working on that and sending that around for signature for a bulk approval. So those are the two things that need to be done prior to us, being able to start with the safety action plan. So as far as kind of the work session that you mentioned, we wanted to come in front of the council to get ideas on the RFP, so the request for proposal. We'll need to do that in order to solicit proposals from consultants to help us out with putting together that safety action plan. And so, Mayor, all that you have mentioned, that is all things that will be a part of the safety action plan. As part of the development of the safety action plan, public engagement and kind of outreach is definitely going to be a key thing that will be done as part of development of that plan. So, we're coming to the council for ideas on kind of what we want to include. But after we do have, a consultant on board and we get started with developing the plan, we'll certainly be reaching out to the public. And we have to figure out kind of what that looks like. I mean, that's really what the information that'll go in the RFP will kind of, help us shape, what we want that, public engagement and outreach to look like. So there certainly will be, opportunities, again, once we do get started with the project. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, cool. This is, so we're one of 12 organizations that
Minnesota.
receive this, in Minnesota that
In
receive this
Minnesota,
grant?
yeah. So there was 12 agencies. We're one of 12 in Minnesota who were awarded a grant.
That's fantastic. So exciting. Councilmember Biskins, did you want to add something? Oh, your microphone.
See, I'm leaving
I
it on.
know,
That's
it's
it. I'm
hard.
done. Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, even just 12 of Minnesota, that's a lot of competition, I'm sure. So very
Absolutely.
excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the rest of the council?
No, I just think it's about time.
Yeah, so we're just starting it and we got money, so we don't have to spend our own money. Well, thank you so much. Was there a comment in the audience?
Yep. So
Sure.
can I
if you-
answer the question?
Yes, generally, we don't really have
Sure.
people just, but there's a good question, so go
Yep,
ahead.
yeah, great question, and I'll definitely elaborate on that. So agencies are, cities, counties, and other government organizations. And so there were 12 throughout Minnesota. And so, I mean, for example, there was, the city of Eagan was, was awarded a grant.
You should just say agency, you should just say there's 12 cities
Yep.
this amendment of which.
Yep, cities and counties, and there's also tribal.
Well, sometimes he's saying it could be a county that could be applying, so there's many different organizations that could apply. Sometimes it's cities, sometimes it's counties, sometimes it might be an organization.
Such as a planning organization, there are.
So
planning
it's not
organizations.
always cities.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you for your comment, but I think we understand now, so. All right, thank you, Salman.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have item number 7, approval of professional services agreement between the City of Columbia Heights and Hosington Coigler, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, Group, Inc. Councilmember Jacobs?
Yes, I would like this item pulled if Aaron, if you could just give a little bit of background, because it does involve a property that is on the market, but it's not one that we have attained or have immediate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So item 7 is approval of a professional service agreement between the city and Hosington Coigler HKGI. It's for the Medtronic site. So currently the Medtronic site is offered for sale publicly, and there's significant interest in redevelopment of the property by more than one redevelopers at the moment. And it's put the city in the position of needing to amend the city's comprehensive plan because the comprehensive plan currently does not specify any other use for the property other than commercial. And the redevelopment proposals that the city is entertaining and certainly supported by staff would expand uses beyond commercial. So it's a 12-acre site. It opens a lot of different doors and lots of opportunities that aren't articulated in the comprehensive plan. And in order to accommodate what we expect to be a significant redevelopment project, we have to go through that comprehensive plan amendment process. And this contract proposes to use the same consulting firm that just completed the city's most recent update to the 2040 comprehensive plan, and essentially take the city through an amendment process that includes engagement with the various boards and commissions, Planning Commission, Economic Development Authority, and the City Council and staff. And then once there's a framework for the re-guiding of that property, to take it to the public for an engagement period and seek feedback on the plan. And then ultimately, once that is fully articulated, we would submit that to the Metropolitan Council for review by their board. We expect that it's a 6-month process from start to finish. And this would better prepare both the city and any interested redeveloper to move through the land use and approval process, starting as early as, next spring.
Thank you.
And also, Aaron, to clarify, the comprehensive plan isn't always looked at when properties go for sale, but this is such a significant piece of property. I just thought maybe if you want to explain a little bit so people just don't think we're always adjusting the comprehensive plan. It generally stays the way it's been made.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. This is a unique circumstance, and given the scope of this project, staff did consult with staff at the Metropolitan Council to discuss the parameters for what triggers an amendment, and the consensus was that unless a significant amount of commercial development was included in this proposal, that it would have to go through the amendment process. And it is unique to large-scale projects like this that just don't have any specific guidance. But most other properties in the city are already covered and guided and have some basis in the comprehensive plan that staff can work off of. But this does slow things down a bit, but it's the appropriate way to expedite in the long run. So take a short pause, understanding that we do want to be as business friendly as we can, and move it along as quickly as we can.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the council on item 7?
No, I just wanted to make sure that there was some additional information that the public had so that they know what's happening there, that we're not purchasing the property. This is a research effort.
All right, then. So we'll need a motion to waive adopt the resolution.
Move to waive the reading of resolution 2023-47. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bizgins and a second by Councilmember Jacobs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next, a motion to adopt.
Move to adopt resolution 2023-47, a resolution approving professional services agreement with HKGI for up to $25,000 in funds from the city's planning and inspections funds 201, and authorize the execution of the agreement for the associated project costs.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bizgins and a second by Councilmember Spriggs to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And I'm going to back us up to item number 5 because we did not vote on that one. So could I have a motion to waive the reading?
Move to waive the reading of resolution 2023-45. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Bizgins to waive the reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And next, may I have a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt Resolution 2023-45, being a resolution accepting SS4A grant funding in the amount of $200,000 with a $50,000 match from the city, from the Federal Highway Administration for development of a citywide safety action plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Spriggs. Any discussion? Hearing is none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you. Next, we go to our public hearings. Sorry,
Yeah, the rest of the consent agenda.
sorry,
Madam Mayor.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I'll read the items that remain for
Thank you.
blanket approval by the city council. Starting with number 2, which is approval of the August 14th, 2023 city council meeting minutes. Item 3 is approval of premise permit application for Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters to conduct charitable gambling at Jimmy's Pro Billiards. Item number 4 is establishing dates for public hearings that relate to the 2023 special assessment levies in the city for various street rehabilitation projects. They all take place on October 3rd, 2023, starting at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. 3 specific hearings, 6 o'clock, 6:15, and 6:30 tentatively on the 3rd. And then item number 6 is approve resolution 2023-46, which authorizes acceptance of a pre-development grant from Anoka County Regional Economic Development and the execution of that grant. And that relates to the item related to the comprehensive plan amendment that we discussed in item 7. So it's grant funding to help the city assist in paying the consultant HKGI. Item number 8 are the rental occupancy licenses for approval. Item 9 is the license agenda. And item 10 is review of bills, which in this case totals $1,402,091.32.
Thank you. Any discussion for the consent agenda as presented? All right, then I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Spriggs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes. Next, we are at the public hearings. This is the public's opportunity to speak regarding this matter. Speakers that are in person are asked to complete a speaker form and submit it to the city clerk. And again, that's the form at the door, the table by the door you came in. Submit that to the city clerk. Speakers attending virtually should send a request to speak with this information to the moderator using the chat function and wait to be called on to speak. When speaking, virtual attendees should turn their camera on. Any comments made after the public hearing is closed will not be considered by the city council and will not be included as part of the formal record for this matter, as the item will have been voted on and the item formally closed by the council. Number 11 is consideration of resolution 2023-44, revocation of the license to operate rental units within the city of Columbia Heights against the rental property at 4522 Tyler Street Northeast for failure to meet the requirements of the Residential Property Maintenance Code. And we have Captain Dan O'Brien here to present this.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. So this revocation basically is for the incomplete repair of violations for the property. There is a electrical hazard, missing switch plate cover. There's missing inoperable smoke alarms. We have an infestation of mice on the lower level. And there's a sewage pump found in the sump pump system in the laundry room with a backup of sewage. And none of that was corrected in the timeline starting on 6/8/23. We did a small extension on July 13th, re-inspected it on July 28th, was not corrected. So then we sent the statement of cause for this meeting. I did speak with the owner last week, and I believe she is present.
Thank you. All right, then. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. At this time, you may speak on the subject of this, this address. If anyone here would like to speak on this. Okay, well, if you can just fill it out quick and just hand it to Sarah on the corner here. We'll have you, after you fill that in, Sarah will introduce you. That way we have the name and everything is announced. We want to keep good records. Your address. And you will be introduced just with your name. So if you put your information down, we don't announce your address. We just want to have your name. Yep, that's correct. Thank you. We need a big sign that says city clerk. People know where to hand it in.
Julie Findell would like to address the council.
Welcome. Yep, and you can speak right there at the podium. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say the reason we did not get the property in ship shape is because both me and my husband have been really very ill. My husband had 2 surgeries. Right now he's in Annandale after his surgery. I have, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but every bone in my body hurts. And this has been for the last 3 months, I guess. So we weren't able to do as much as we wanted to. We did get rid of, if there was rodents, and I don't know if one of my tenants is here, she was gonna come. No, she's not. She finds a lot of things that aren't, we don't have rats in there, we don't have, and we might have had a mouse or 2, but that, I did get somebody to come out, and it was the least pet control. And they did come out and took care of that. As far as the 17th, when we didn't get that done, I can say my husband was really out of it and wasn't able to function. So all I can say is we just are not functioning this year. This has been the worst year of our life. And we kept up the property. It's one of the nicer looking property on the outside. So I'm asking for an extension. My husband will probably, he'll be bedridden yet for a couple weeks, I think. However, I'm able to get somebody out there to start working. And I don't know what else to say. We tried, we tried. Whatever we could do, we did. But we weren't able to manage as well as we should have. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. How long have you owned the property?
Oh my gosh, it's been years, probably 20 years. And we never had anything like this. We're not slum lords at all. In fact, I think we keep it up better than most. However, we got to the point where we just, since March, we were going the wrong way. We just couldn't keep up. And my husband had a back surgery, had a, well, what do you call that, Chad? Yep, surgery. And I had a stroke. So, but we're doing all right. And I think in about a month or 2, we should be back on our feet. So I'm asking for an extension.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, we have questions? And
Yes.
Maybe, is it hard for you to stand?
No,
Okay, Councilmember Jacobs?
Dan, have we executed any extensions for this property in the past? And in the history beyond this group of incidents, what is their history?
We have not, they've not asked for any extensions. We've not needed to give any extensions in the past, so.
Okay, and they've been compliant in the past when they've been inspected? So this is an anomaly for this particular property? Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? All right, thank you. Dan, would anybody else like to speak on this matter? You just have to fill in a form. We can wait, it's okay. And heads up to anyone else who would like to speak. We're very serious about filling in the form, so. But it's only 2 or 3 things to write down.
Chad Findall would like to address the council.
Thank you, welcome.
Welcome, good evening. So yeah, I just want to iterate that my parents have just been having difficulty with doing their own stuff. They don't usually hire out plumbers or sheetrock guys. They do stuff themselves. And they've just lost all abilities in the last year to keep up. So their plan is to get me to be helping in some bigger fashion. Beyond that, that's about all I have to say. So it's just, I appreciate you looking at the health of them and their record in the past.
And you have the ability to help them? Is
I
this
do.
something that you're knowledgeable on and knowledgeable with permits and
Yep.
those kind of
They've
items?
had many rentals and I've been working beside them my whole life, so. But they just didn't, they just lost it in this last.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right.
One other comment, Chief? Can you meet with them and let them know what the process is if they want to request an extension? Is that something that you
That's-
would be interested in?
She's requesting it from you guys
Yeah,
to
right
get the
now.
extension.
Okay, thank you. I knew that.
That's all right.
And Madam Mayor,
Yes.
the way we've handled those extensions previously is by tabling the matter until either the next
Table the matter?
council matter or 2 council meetings, whatever time period you'd like. Because then the public hearing stays open. We don't have to renotice and go through that process again. It's because you aren't denying or approving an extension. You're just tabling until you can consider it again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So
Then
move to,
my question, I'm sorry, Connie,
Go ahead.
my question would be, how much time do you think you need? Reasonable time to be expedient and get the things done that need to be done.
Correct. The biggest problem is a pipe in the floor. It just needs to be smashed open and repaired and then reconcreted. Our biggest problem right now is we have a tenant and upstairs. So we actually started a repair. She got upset with the dust and she went to a hotel and charged us $700 for 2 days in the hotel. So we're just having an issue, but she's supposed to be possibly leaving the end of this month. She had a 30-day notice, but this particular tenant,
Okay, but in
it's
view
just
of, in view of what needs to be done, we need some kind of an idea as to a reasonable timeline that you need.
2
Because I
months.
don't
Say
think
one-
you
I would
want to
say
come
one
back
more
and
month.
ask for another
no,
extension,
we
and we
do
don't
not.
like to give
Right.
them out in multiples.
45 days, a
45
month and a
days would be
half,
nice. A
6
month and a half would be
weeks.
great.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, I have a motion to table. If people
move
are
to table
interested.
resolution 2023-44.
All right. I have a motion to table and a motion to table by Councilmember Bizkins and a second by Councilmember Jacobs. And we are moving to 6 weeks from now, which would be the last meeting in September 28th.
And you don't need to identify a specific
okay.
meeting. By just tabling it, you can put it back on when you decide which meeting you'd like
Okay.
to put it on.
But we would like the landlord to have a date.
Well, then let's go ahead and identify a date right now.
Okay. Agreed? Is that what the
I'm fine with
council would
that.
like, is have a
Do you
date?
have a-
Councilmember Bizkins, it's your motion.
Move to table, adopt resolution 2023-44, and I pick the middle of, probably the first week of October,
that'd be
October 1st or October
October
15th?
9th is our first council
Okay,
meeting.
so October 9th.
October 9th.
Extra time. If it's done before that, that's great. Yes, you can check with Dan. Okay, so we have a motion to table until October 8th.
Nine.
Ninth, October 9th by Councilmember Bizgins, and we have a second by Councilmember Jacobs
Yes.
still? All right, any discussion? Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. You have your extension. Yep. You're welcome. Thank you for coming in and speaking up, and sorry for your health issues. I know that's very hard. Oh, no, you're welcome to leave. Yep.
Just make sure you follow through on that request.
And our fire department's very helpful to answer questions, anything like that. So make sure you reach out. Yeah. I just had a question from Councilmember Jacobs. This is for the council specifically to move item 14 up.
To proceed 12 and 13.
Yep, move it up to the discussion now. Any questions on that? Just to move it up, so it's,
Timeliness.
then we can keep item number 12 and 13 in their own space.
Okay.
Any
Fine.
questions, Councilmember Spriggs?
Thank you.
Jim, is that all right with you? All right. Okay, great. We're going to now do item number 14, and then we're going to move 12 and 13 just underneath those. Item 14 is the first reading of ordinance 1688 prohibiting smoking within parks and amending the definition of public place. And
Yeah.
Aaron Sherpish will take us through this one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So at the August work session, the council discussed a variety of issues related to the recent law changes around cannabis and how that's going to impact the city. And one of the first items of action that the council would like staff to take up would be an ordinance that prohibits the smoking of anything, tobacco, cannabis, vaping of any sort in public parks. There was conversation about public places in general, but ultimately the council landed on just starting with public parks for this ordinance. So there's three things going on here: prohibition of smoking of any kind in public parks. And then when staff looked into the definition of public place, it was just kind of brought on about this broader conversation. We thought that our current definition was lacking and that we would like to bring it up to today's standards and just clean it up a bit. So there's also an amendment to more clearly define public places in the city. I just want to be clear that the ordinance before you is only prohibiting smoking in parks and not all public places. It was just an opportunity to address these two things at once. And then finally, as with practice on all ordinance amendments, we do take a look at pronouns and make sure that they're updated and that the language in the text for code amendments are consistent with gender neutral pronoun changes. So that's really all that's going on, and I would be happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Councilmember Jacobs?
You mentioned specifically parks, but and looking at item S in the ordinance, it's a smoking is prohibited in all city parks and all public parking lots that are adjacent to city parks. I just want to make
Thank
sure
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you for the
thank you.
clarification, Councilmember
parking lot,
Jacobs.
thank you. Yes. I'm in favor of this. We really discussed too that like sidewalks are parking, are public areas, and we didn't want people to be limited there with the rights that they have to do this. So we really wanted to work, as Aaron said, on the parks. One of the items, and I really appreciate us going with using gender neutral terms, and I do approve, well, I will vote and approve for it, but in item I on the ordinance, it's fine for today, but I would like to, I think it'd be good for staff to reach out to I don't know, to other cities and see if there's ways that letter I could be
Yeah.
adjusted to make sure it is more forward facing.
And I wonder if that was missed, Madam Mayor, in our first.
And I don't have a
review.
suggestion of how to, you know, to
Yeah.
how exactly to word that in a culture, you know, in an appropriate way, but I think it's fine for today, but I think it's something that we should look at adjusting. Councilmember Spriggs, I see you nodding. You agree?
I had noticed the same thing, so I'm glad you had brought that up. I think that that can be updated to be more inclusive and get across the point we're trying to
Mhm.
make.
Yeah, I'd like to make sure we're inclusive to our trans community and friends and neighbors too, and that wording does not allow for that. So we'll approve it today, but with the idea
Okay.
that we will get an ordinance update for that. Or should we table this, get an ordinance update and bring it back? What's preferred?
Can I ask a point of clarification with the city attorney? I'm wondering, can we make that change in between the first and second reading, or is that not appropriate?
Well, since this is the first reading, if you want to make when you make the motion, just include that provision in it.
Okay,
And it'll come back for the second reading with that language.
Okay.
Thank you.
great.
Appreciate that.
Would that work, Aaron, to have
That, yeah, that.
updated writing or, okay.
We will
wording?
be able to achieve that between the readings.
Wonderful. All right, then may I have a motion then to, oh, sorry, we're going to open the public hearing. If anyone's here to speak on this item, Sarah? All right. And anyone on Zoom like to speak on the first reading of ordinance 1688 prohibiting smoking within parks? It sounds like no. All right, I just ask one more time to make sure everyone has their opportunity to speak at this public hearing. Seeing and hearing as none, then I will move to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing and waive the reading of ordinance number 1688. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bizkins and a second by Councilmember Spriggs to close the public hearing and waive the reading. By Councilmember Bizkins and seconded by Councilmember Spriggs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And next I have a motion to set the second reading,
Move,
including the updated language for item number I.
move to set the second reading of ordinance number 1688, being an ordinance amending chapter 10, article 2 of the Columbia Heights City Code to prohibit smoking within city parks and amending the Columbia Heights City Code to update the definition of public place for September 11th, 2023.
Second.
Weren't we supposed to add to that the change in the language along
And
with that
language
motion?
change for
Yeah, I had
Update.
said,
section I.
Yeah,
yep, I had said that motion set to that.
Okay.
Well, sorry, you're making sure that Councilmember Spriggs added that in the motion. All right, Councilmember, I have a motion by Councilmember Spriggs and a second by Councilmember Jacobs, correct?
Correct.
To set the second reading and update the ordinance of letter I. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Voting on item I for aye. All right. Now we are back at item number 12. This meeting is kind of just bouncing all over. Item number 12, appeal number 1 for rental license revocation resolution 2023-35 for 1000 Peters Place Northeast.
Madam Mayor, members of the council. So this first revocation, or sorry, the first appeal, I should say, apologies, is based on, with looking at their letter, which I believe is included in your packet, is based on the property owners feeling that the items had been addressed on the day of the council, meeting, that they had been repaired and addressed. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to Mr. Hussein and his attorney to argue their side of the appeal, I guess.
All right. You may come up to the podium.
Morgan Smith would like to address the council.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members and persons, ladies and gentlemen. I represent KSR Investments LLC, and to make it easy going forward, I'll just say KSR. And that is the registered owner of the 1000 Peters Place that we're talking about. there was a hearing of the city council. And I know it's hard to sit as the Board of Appeals for yourselves, but try to do that in a rational and considerate way. I know you will. Where Mr. Khan, the property manager for KSR, offered a number of photographs, witnesses, video, and his own testimony that by July 10th, the time of the meeting, these repairs had been completed. There was a repair to 3 different things. There was a new fire door, A. There was a repair of some concrete work on the foundation, B. And there was an issue about an exterminator for vermin, mice, bugs, whatever. My client replaced the fire door and explained that the fire door took some time because of supply chain stuff and COVID to get the fire door. My client purchased the more expensive of the fire doors and did try multiple vendors. The concrete work was done not to the satisfaction of the city around 28th of June, but by the 10th of July, it had been done a second time so that it was more smooth and clear. What's in the transcript for review is a lot of prejudging or prejudice about information that the council relied on that came in before the city council hearing on the revocation. For example, a number of council persons remarked that they'd talked to nebulously some tenants. Those tenants were not in person at the meeting. They didn't testify. They weren't identified. And I understand as elected officials, it's a good thing that you speak to your constituents. That's great. We want that. I like to see that. That's wonderful. But that doesn't count as a source of evidence that you rely on during a city council meeting when you make your deliberation on who you're going to vote for and whether you're going to approve or deny a motion. There was testimony in the record from council member about having an older house, 130 years old. I get that. My house was built in 1913. I know what you're talking about. And in Minnesota, we have frost heave, we have weather, we have storms, things break, even stone. And the way my client KSR is set up to work with the tenants, my client doesn't babysit the tenants. My client doesn't sit in their living rooms or in their bathrooms or in their kitchens and monitor the place in case it might need repairs. The lease says if you have a need for repair, please write to the landlord, add an address so that staff, such as Mr. Khan, can process those requests and get the repairs made. If the tenants instead choose to, and I guess it's their right to do so, but it's not very efficient, come to the city first, my client doesn't know until the city enters action and alerts my client that there have been these complaints from somebody. So it's not the optimal way to get things done. And the third thing was about mice. I just saw a mouse in my yard today and I bought a couple traps. My client has a 1-year contract with a professional exterminator, and I offered the contract, offered to approach, offered to deliver documents, offered to deliver photographs, offered to have testimony from the worker who fixed the cement foundation. None of that was received by the city council in the city council meeting on the revocation. Instead, the city council voted based on prejudged ideas of what they've already heard. Not only that, but one person told Mr. Khan that he has no right to be here. And with all due respect to you folks, he has every right to be here. He's an American citizen. He's an employee of an affected person, KSR, who you issued a notice to, and he responded basically by your invitation. And to tell the representative of my client that he's not welcome to be here for whatever reason, and that things are disgusting and that he's not doing his job without any of that evidence being presented to the city is the sort of poster child for arbitrary and capricious decision-making. This transcript, if you read it, there's a lot of stumbling and interrupting, and that happens a lot when we get transcripts. But it is ripe for judicial review. It's a unfortunate decision, and I'm asking that you reverse that decision and permit my client to have another inspection so that you can verify that as of July 10th, all of these things have been done. And that's what I have to say about the KSR matter. And I don't know if you want me to return to my seat while you discuss and then return to the podium on the other matter.
Okay, thank you. We'll take questions from the council. And then after that, we'll open up to the public as well. So Councilmember Jacobs?
Chief, are these infractions in specified units? Are these infractions in specified units or are they building issues?
The infestation is building wide. There was several units that we had issues with.
Obviously, the concrete work is building.
That's exterior, yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right. Then we will open this up to the public hearing. Thank you.
Shannon Knight would like to address the council.
Welcome.
So I guess I'd like to talk in reference to, he has a contract with exterminator that comes out to the building and they're supposed to be contracted for a year. We have ongoing mice issues, which I have pictures in my phone, current. I think we just caught another mouse a week ago or so. I have photos. And just recently, now there's roaches crawling in my apartment. The messages that have been going on between me and the defendant here, or the management, it's been horrible, horrible. I have every last text message saved in my phone, and I'm waiting for him to bring me to court because I want to have my day with him in court, period. He's been awful to everyone in that building, and we do not deserve that. We were supposed to have cameras installed. There's been homeless people, whoever kind of people sleeping in the back in our stairwell, safety issues. At one time, we went months. I worked day and night. When I took the day, my evening off from work to attend this meeting, because I said, no, I have to speak up. No lights. As soon as nighttime hit, that went on for months. And again, I have all my messages saved in my phone. It got to a point where he blocked me from even messaging him anymore. Sorry, I work day and night. I don't have time to write through the mail and send something off in the mail. I'm a nursing assistant. I'm doing cares with people, but it's horrible. There's people, I don't know, odd people in the building. On my floor recently, holy smoke, someone got to the top of the roof. All the crap, I don't know what it's called. What is it, the top there? All the crap is down there on the floor. They did it
Insulation?
again. What in the world? Yeah, what in the world is going on up there on the floor? Why is anyone going up there to the roof of the building and no maintenance people are working there? Again, we should have cameras inside the building. Snow, oh my gosh, we were all stuck in the snow during winter. You know, can't plow nothing because he won't send out anyone to properly plow that building. And it's issue after issue after issue with that building. Right now, another thing, my toilet isn't working. Oh, we have to pour a bucket of water down my toilet just for it to flush. My husband sent them a message and told them, hey, he sent a guy out to fix it. It's not fixed. Never heard a thing again. And I told my husband, you know what, leave it alone. Just leave it. When he's ready to collect your rent payment, we will see you in court. And I mean that. It's been awful. And I have all of those messages, all of them between myself and my husband. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we able to look at photos? I'm asking, well,
Madam-
sorry, just one second. I'm asking our city attorney if that's okay.
Madam Mayor, this is an appeal hearing from the previous decision of the council.
Okay.
Probably some ongoing issues that perhaps the inspection department could look into
Okay.
with that individual. What I'd like to do, excuse me, what I'd like to do is keep the council focused, because the council made a determination to revoke the license, and the basis, there was a lot of information discussed at that meeting. It's all on the record. However, what's also on the record is that there was a timeline in which the repairs needed to be performed. They were not. The allegation is, and the information presented at the hearing was that they had done them that day. Well, our code provisions don't provide for doing them that day because there's no effective way to make inspections. So the council's decision was based initially or primarily on the fact that the items weren't done and they weren't done in a timely fashion. There was a lot of other discussion and there may have been some other considerations for the council, but that's the one that I'm focused on. Thank you.
Thank you. Then may I open, well, we're still in a public hearing, so if there's anyone else who would like to speak at the public hearing,
Kempton Jackson would like to address the council.
thank you.
Man, I don't really have like too much bad to say. Saying like, you come in my apartment's clean. I don't have any roaches issues. or
Excuse me,
Any mice or anything.
address
Thank you,
don't
just
have
talking to the
those
microphone.
issues. The only issue that I have is that the apartment above me flooded, and then my bathroom, like I just have a bubble and I got mold in my bathroom around the top of my ceiling. I just want my whole bathroom fixed. That's it. Other than that, I don't have any problem. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are discussing item number 11, item number 12. Is anyone who else would like to speak during this public hearing? Sure, yeah.
Thank you again, and thank you for your courtesy. I just want to point out that I've never heard from Ms. Knight or the gentleman before, and I would invite both to write a letter to my client about the repair issues you like. And I just wanted to point out that in the notice for these hearings that I got, I was told to go to 3839 Central Avenue, which is an abandoned lot a couple blocks north of here. And I think maybe that's one of those things that happens in my office where you cut and paste things. And so the address on the notice is wrong. So the notice of the appeal is kind of facially flawed. Otherwise, I just want to respond a little bit to what Mr. Huft said about the timing. That's not in dispute, although Mr. Khan also pointed out that 504B.185 has an article about, or a provision about, a reasonable time. One of the things that made the work take longer than everybody would have liked was the exterior work couldn't happen till after the winter. The door problem was really not my client's control. They ordered doors, they checked different vendors, and they couldn't get a door because of the COVID supply chain issue. And as far as item 7C, that was about mice or vermin, rodents, I think is the language. The person in place has given my client information that he offered to the city council that there's not in fact an infestation. There are some problem areas and they're being attended to over the course of this one-year contract. So really what the council did, and as you sit today in the Court of Appeals of your own selves, I'm asking you to review that decision-making process was flawed and the decision was arbitrary and capricious. And it was pre-made before Mr. Khan walked in and told he wasn't welcome to be here. So I'm asking that as you sit here today as the Board of Appeals for the City Council, that you reverse that order revoking KSR's license and re-inspect to confirm that these things are done. And I thank you again for your eminent patience.
Thank you. I don't think you need to say anything. If it's anything different than what you already said, is it something different? Okay. Any questions from the council? No? Dan, would you like to finish out this topic?
Yes, Madam Mayor, sorry. City Attorney alluded to it. I was going to speak to it, but so the timeline for this, so the initial inspection was done on August 19th. The violations for the exterior, so that was the infestation piece that was started in August 19th of 2022. We did get some some paperwork from them, a contract that said that they, actually it was a proposal from them, a copy of their proposal in December of 22 that basically said that here's what needs to be done, here's what we'll do, here's what it'll cost you, but nothing that was ever signed. We never got a copy of what was signed. They provided us with 2 inspection reports from the extermination company. One dated in December, one dated in January 25th or 6th of this year. There was no additional documents. I did receive something today from Mr. Khan. That's a letter from the extermination company saying they did this date, this date, this date, this date, but they never submitted any of that documentation to our office to show that they were continuing with ongoing treatment. And when our inspectors went, they still found signs of issues with rodents and the infestation issue. So on June 26th, when we did sent them, I'm sorry, take that back. On or about 5/22 of 23, we sent them the statement of cause noticing that we were doing a final inspection, plain English, on the letter that says on 6/28, we are doing a final inspection of this property. If it fails, it goes to council for revocation. Okay, so they knew when that day was. So they needed to be done that day. Our inspector showed up that day. We had not received any additional information from them for the extermination. The door was not, it might have been in, but there were issues with the handles. The door repair was not complete. I have pictures that I can show and present if the council would like to see them. And then the concrete work was not done in any kind of workmanlike fashion. So I have those images. If you'd like to see them, I can certainly show them to you. So on 6/28, that's what we based our decision and my presentation to the council on. Issues were not completed. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Okay,
Comment.
all right then. Then I will close the public hearing. Seeing as no one else would like to speak on this item, both in the chambers and on Zoom, correct? All right, then may I have a, sorry. All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing then?
So moved.
Sorry, move to close the public hearing and waive the reading of resolution 2023-44. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
We're on number 12.
Did I read the wrong one?
Yep,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Okay, let me find it here. So.
Yeah,
Number
just a
12.
motion, just a motion to close the public hearing
Okay,
first.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bizgins and a second by Councilmember Jacobs to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
And then, Madam
And
Mayor,
then,
the council, the appropriate motions would be either to affirm the appeal or to deny the appeal. So.
all right, thank you.
Those are on,
Thank you. So now may I have a motion to affirm the appeal
Or deny.
or deny?
Motion to deny the appeal.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Bizgins. Any discussion from the council? All right, hearing is none then. Let's see, a motion to deny the appeal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion to appeal is denied. All right, we'll move on to item number 13. And that again is with Dan O'Brien.
Yep. Madam Mayor, members of the council, this is a second appeal by another party involved in this, Penrod Lane LLC. From what I'm able to determine from the appeal letter that was submitted, that their appeal is based on the fact that Penrod Lane LLC wasn't given the opportunity to be heard. They weren't given notice. And then that the LLC owner and Penrod Lane LLC and its owner do not have an interest in 1000 Peters Place.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So with that, I will quickly give a little bit more background. On the statement of cause on 5/22/23, we sent out, we mailed three separate revocation hearings. There were three separate hearings for that property initially. And to the addresses sent, placed on the 2022 license application for Penrod Lane in the 966, 968, 44.5 Avenue, who we're saying has an interest in the 1000 Peters Place revocation. We also sent it to the legal address that's in county records for that property as well. So a copy went to those, notice of each of the revocations. So they actually got 6 notifications. We actually ended up having to send out an additional correction notification. So they actually got 8 notifications of the date and time of the public hearing. So they were definitely, I can say, I'm pretty sure confident that they were given notice. None of them were returned, and they were sent to the places that we were told to indicate. And if those addresses had changed, they are responsible to contact our department and let us know of any changes in the licensing period, which did not occur. Second piece, interest in the property. We have some renewal notices state, they say we don't have a definition of an interest. So the city licenses properties. The licensee owner it has to be a representative of the owner. Usually, like if it's an LLC, it's going to be a president or an officer of the LLC. So it has to be a human being connected to the license. As far as it, so it doesn't mention interest anywhere in our as a licensee. But where it does mention interest is our city code when a license is revoked. And we define our interest definition in our license application. It gives a very good description of it in there. So, and that's sent out, and I do have examples of that if you'd like to see those. I can certainly present them as well. Let's see here. And then, so I do have some other additional presentation stuff I can do, where I can show where they are connected in multiple ways to each other as far as the property. So if you'd like me, I can present that as well, but I'll let him go ahead and speak next.
Okay, thank you. So yes, if you'd like to come to the podium then.
Thank you again, Mayor. Morgan Smith. Now I'm representing MSA Properties. I represent a number of companies. I represent a woman getting divorced in Anoka. I represent a construction company in Dakota County. I represent a homeowner in Minneapolis that's suing a construction company. Mr. Khan works for multiple masters as well. Mr. Khan works for KSR, which we talked about earlier. Mr. Khan also works for MSA Properties. It's very possible that the gentleman has documents that I have not seen. But the first MSA Properties knew about anything concerning Peters Place, 1000 Peters Place, was on July 11th, when it got the notice that yesterday a public hearing was held on July 10th about your interest in. And the standard in the ordinance is not connected to or sort of affiliated with or kind of know each other. The standard in the ordinance is an interest in. And I gave you the Black's Law definition of an interest, and a legal interest is not exactly the owner of, but it's a kind of interest like an ownership. For example, each of these tenants have an interest in each of these buildings. The kind of interest is called a leasehold interest. They have a right to use and quietly enjoy a part of that land that's created in the contract that is their lease. They have an interest. MSA Properties has no interest in, and there was never any evidence given to the city council to support this claim. MSA or Penrod have no interest in 1000 Peters Place. 1000 Peters Place is wholly owned by KSR. There's no interest in. I would think that the case would be the opposite if MSA Properties was a tenant at 1000 Peters Place. The argument could then be made that MSA or Penrod have an ownership or any kind of interest in 1,000 Peters Place. There's absolutely nothing in the record that shows an interest in 1,000 Peters Place by my second client. And the simple fact that both of them have elected, because they have property in Columbia Heights, to have Mr. Khan work with and for them does not create an interest in. Mr. Khan has no interest in, and there's no evidence that he did, in KSR. Mr. Khan has no interest in MSA. He works for them. He doesn't own the buildings that they operate, and he doesn't own any interest in them. I gave you the public record that shows the ownership information that's available to the public about both buildings. There's nothing in the public record that would suggest that anybody owns 1,000 Peters Place Northeast other than KSR Investments LLC. There's nothing in the record that was before the city that anybody else had any ownership interest in the property. Also, there's no ownership interest by KSR in the duplex, and it's kind of hard to say, at 966 44th and a half Avenue. KSR doesn't own any interest in that, has no legal right to it, has no right to possession, it has no interest in it. And so when you look at the city ordinance that was applied to suspend this license, it's wholly based on speculation and an absolute lack of information, hence arbitrary and capricious. And I ask that that decision to enter that revocation be reversed and that the case be, or the license be reinstated. Thank you again for your patience.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will, if there's any questions from the council, we can take that. No? All right. Are there any other interested parties that would like to speak at this public hearing? And anyone on Zoom? All right, I'll just ask one more time if anyone would like to speak on item 13, property at 966 and 968 44 and a half Avenue Northeast. All right, hearing is nothing. And no questions from the council? All right, then.
Madam Clerk?
Oh, sure, yes.
A
City
comment.
Attorney?
Thank you. What I'd like to point out is that council's argument to the ownership interest of the property may be correct, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an interest in the rental license, not the property ownership. And there's a myriad of connections that you've seen in the documentation that connect not just.
Use your microphone more. It's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Not just the management, but also registered addresses, et cetera. So based upon those connections between the properties, and in fact, the management listed 1,000 Peters Place as a related property for handling both those buildings. And under our provisions of the rental license, that is a common interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So I could have a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Spriggs and a second by Councilmember Jacobs to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing is none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes to close the public hearing. Next, we have a motion to appeal or deny.
Motion to deny.
Second.
I have a motion to deny the appeal from Councilmember Jacobs and a second by Councilmember Spriggs. Any discussion from the council? No? All right, then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. The motion to deny passes. Next, we have our items for consideration, which we have no items at this time until we get to item 15, the school resource officer discussion. And our police chief, Austin, will bring us will present this information.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. As you're aware that there's a new law that is now on the books that prohibits prone restraints and certain physical holds on pupils. And this new law applies to officers who are assigned as school resource officers and police officers that are contracted with school districts. There are several law enforcement agencies right now that are either canceling or in the process of canceling or not renewing their contracts with the school districts because of this new law. The police department is currently waiting to review some additional information from the League of Minnesota Cities about this new law. And once we have an opportunity to review that information, then we will come back and make a recommendation on the SRO contract at that time. I can't hear. His words are mumbled. They're in between the microphones.
Thank you. Just try to make sure we use our microphones more.
Sure. In the meantime, the police department is going to be temporarily reassigning the SROs and we won't have any officers serving in the SRO assignment. The police department will also be unable to provide contract services to the school district officers, to the school district for events such as football games that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. What I can tell you is we will continue to collaborate with the school district on public safety issues, and we will continue to work on the challenges associated with this operational change. Hopefully we'll have some clarification in the next couple of weeks, and we will be back about, within the next couple of weeks. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Sure, thank you, Chief. I did want to mention that this isn't something that the council has voted on. This is a discussion in the police department. I just want to make sure we're really transparent with the community. That our school district is so big here in Columbia Heights. We want to make sure everyone knows. So it's so great we can talk about this. Thank you for being proactive and really making sure that the council, myself as a mayor, knew about this. A lot of bills were passed this year, and so as a city, we've been going through them all and which ones affect Columbia Heights or the county. But just wanted to make sure that this isn't something that went through the council. This is something the department's deciding on. That's what will work best for the department. And then, yeah, I just was making some notes, just checking them. Anything from the council that they'd like to add or questions?
I would
Councilmember
just like to comment that I'm very grateful for the effort that the chief has put into this issue. And I don't think any of our officers should be put in a position where they can't effectively do their job. So I'm happy to support the decision.
Councilmember Spriggs?
Just a question, since I haven't gone through like the process of renewing or renewing SRO contract through the school district. I know that happens normally in December at the end of each year. Is there a process for essentially pulling out of the contract from our end? And is there like special notice we need to give to the school district? Or I guess since there's a lot of crossover here, obviously with the school district, but we're the ones with the final say over the police department, just kind of looking at what does that process look like?
Madam Mayor, members of the council. So right now what we are doing is the contract allows for a temporary reassignment of the school resource officers, which we are currently doing. That will basically give us some additional time to look at the additional information that the league is going to be putting out. And then at that point, we will come back to the city council with a recommendation of whether or not to cancel the contract. And the cancellation of the contract actually would be a council decision.
Thank you. And we have been in contact with our representatives at the Capitol. We've had emails and conversations with Representative Feist and Senator Kunish, who are working on making sure that departments across the state are being heard and that this bill is reflecting what schools and our police departments need. So it's kind of a time of flux. But we are, I just want to let the community know that it's something that we are reaching out to get the answers that we need, including with the league. So, anything else? All right, then. Thank you for letting us know about this, and thanks for all your communicating through this process. Very helpful. Next, we have our city council and administrative reports. Councilmember Spriggs, would you like to go first?
Sure, not a ton for me. Attended the open hall here at City Hall. It was a great event, great to see a lot of people out and had a lot of great conversations. Otherwise been a busy couple of weeks at the hospital, so not much else to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Jacobs?
I attended the City Hall celebration, and again, lots of turnout, lots of good feedback. It was exciting to see that many people attend the event. And I also attended the Baumgartner Oath Ceremony this past week. And then I'd like to announce again that the Kiwanis Club is celebrating 40 years of recycling on Saturday, September 16th from 9 to noon at the Columbia Heights Recycling Center located at 3801 Madison. Learn how current recycling practices enhance our communities and protect our environment. Refreshments will be served while supplies last. And for more specific information on items that you can bring to the recycling center, please check out the city webpage. I also want to thank the staff for getting the Tyler Shalito banner back up. That came down in on very unfortunate circumstances in the city, and I got feedback from Tyler's mom, and they're very pleased that they had to go out and hunt it down again, and it was like a whole new experience, but they were glad to have that back up. Then I would like to, just as some clarification, I'd like to read something about the council corner, and I do this because it came up, it was mentioned at the last council meeting, and I just want to be sure that the residents understand that this is another venue for them and how that all came about. Earlier this year at a work session, the mayor brought forward the idea of adding an additional council session to discuss non-business items that a regular work session agenda would not accommodate because of mandatory agenda items and associative time constraints. In a discussion with the former city manager, concern over conversations between the mayor and the two newly elected council members would create violations of open meeting laws, and the workaround was to hold an additional meeting that would be appropriately posted and available for all community to attend, but would not mandate attendance by individual council members, nor would minutes be taken. The meetings would be once monthly and scheduled from 3 to 4 p.m. with an additional soft half hour for any overrun discussion. This was specifically done to prevent staff from having to remain after regular business hours. Additional stipulations in city management and city manager oversight were put in place to keep this meeting from going off the rails. When this was presented at the work session, I singularly objected because of the concern that it would be too easy to cross over to get in the weeds on business items that should remain on agendas of regularly scheduled work sessions and council meetings, both generating official records for future reference. I also had concerns that 3 p.m. time slot on a weekday, although understandable from a staff perspective, simply did not encourage community attendance that was being encouraged or by the mayor and other council members. And to date, to be very fair, only one community member has attended. The consensus was to approve the additional meeting, and I graciously acceded, but remained with some concern. Moving forward, I assumed and have waited for the council corner to be publicized at a regularly scheduled council meeting, inviting the public to attend, especially it was an initiative presented during a work session and enthusiastically supported and welcomed community participation. However, beyond an incidental mention in council member and mayoral reports, the meeting was never announced to the public beyond its listing on the city webpage. I find that to be our failure of transparency and have therefore presented you this information this evening. Because council corner and an agenda item attributed to that forum were mentioned at the August 14th council meeting, I wanted to be sure the context of this additional meeting is made available to the public in a clear format. The council corner is currently being held on the second Wednesday of the month at City Hall from 3 to 4 p.m. with overrun no later than 4:30. Please reference the Agendas and Minutes tab under Government on the city webpage, and be sure to always confirm the meeting schedule, as several have had to be canceled. We welcome your attendance and look forward to your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Counselor Biskins?
Several things. I attended the employees picnic. It was a great time visiting with employees and their families. It was a beautiful day. I continue to take care of the Immersion Hall flower pots. I attended the Cone with a Cop, and we had a great turnout. It was fun meeting lots of people from our community. I attended the Friends of Cordiac potluck. They met to talk about their concerns about the park and the lake. I can't remember the name of the lake offhand, but anyway, Highland Lake. And there was about 75 people in attendance, and members from the Anoka County came and spoke to them about their concerns. Attended the City Hall open house, greatly attended too. It was fun watching people getting a tour of our office space, and this is a building that the community can be very proud of. It was a lot of work getting this all together, so I thank everyone who came to check us out. And I also attended Officer Baumgartner's swearing in last week, our newly new police officer to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. The last few weeks, I have attended the employee picnic as well. Great food and it was a beautiful day. We have our employee picnic in the fire department in the bays, and they pull out some of the fire trucks and we get to sit there, and families come as well. So it's good to see everyone. We had to cancel the Monarch Festival last week. We also had a cancellation of music in the park because of the heat index. We were concerned about that. The Monarch Festival evening wasn't that hot, but we also had dancers, and volunteers would have had to have been there for 4 hours. So we thought that was a dangerous time to have volunteers to be in the heat, and dancers and musicians as well. But as some volunteers said, this just means that we'll have a better Monarch Festival next year. We'll just work towards that. I attended a senior painting class at the senior center at Immersion Hall this past week. We did a state fair painting of Ferris wheels. It was a lot of fun with the teacher Candy, and attended the swearing in for Officer Baumgartner. Attended the Park and Rec Commission, and I'm excited to share with the community and the council that there will be a new event at Huset Park. It is a bike race that goes on the grass. They ride their bikes in the grass, and it's sort of like a course of objects and terrain. And so they want to have people come check it out, have food trucks, and have a bouncy house. So we don't have the date for that yet, but it'll be sometime this year still. Very exciting. And the Parks and Commission group, we're excited to talk about it. And attended the school district's luncheon to welcome new teachers and staff. It's called Scaling the Heights. They had a 3-day event where they bring in the new teachers and new staff, get to know the building, get to know each other. And I've been invited for the last 3 years to say a welcome to those new teachers and staff. They also take a bus and they go around the whole city so they can see all the different schools. Because some are going to be assigned at one school, but it's good to know their relationships and get to know our own city. So I gave a big plug for the restaurants and our parks. This morning, I attended the Metro Cities Transportation and General Governance online meeting. Learned a lot about all of the funding that's coming into streets and bridges for our state. Also attended the open house here at City Hall where we all cut the ribbon. I want to thank again all of the staff, especially Will Rotter, all of the restaurants that generously donated food and donated food, and all of the community members who made art that's displayed in the central place. It was amazing to see all the art hung here. Just such a great job. And lastly, attended the Friends of Cordiac Park meeting. That summary of the meeting should be going out in the next week. And that is it for my week. Oh, and then attended movie in the park on Friday night, which was Black Panther. And it was a nice chilly night after those last couple days of heat. But there'll be one more movie in the park, I think, in September. So
that's correct.
All right, that's it for me then. And on to Aaron Trubridge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before getting into just some general updates, I would like to take the time to invite the city's finance director to present the process and kind of the overview of the budget process. We're entering that time of year, and the charter requires that the the city council has delivered a summary of the budget before the end of August, and that was delivered to your inbox this evening, and Joe will kind of give a very broad overview of where it's at and what the next steps are. Again, as required by the charter, but we're into that time period where it has begun. So with that, I would give Finance Director Joe Kloiber the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As he mentioned, out on the city website right now is the initial version of the city manager's proposed budget for 2024. And that email you have has a link to that. And this is a working document that will go through a variety of updates as we move forward throughout the remainder of the budget season up until the final public hearing in December. Right now, what's out there has the required information required under the charter for the proposed budget by fund for 2024 and the detail of the components of the proposed levy for 2024. Over the course of the next week, we expect to expand on that by providing the additional detail by department. And, but right now what's out there is also includes everything that will be covered in next week's budget work session, the first of the 3 budget work sessions. And the departmental information that'll be provided, I say within about the next week, is for the October and November work sessions. And another major item that would come in there would be, we're still trying to acquire comparative data from other cities outside of Anoka County. Process is going a little slower this year. We do have preliminary information for fiscal disparities for 2024, but the final official figures haven't even been posted to the league's website yet. So that's where we're at, and we'll see you at next Monday's or Tuesday's work session.
Thank you. And I would like to invite the community to attend our work sessions, kind of brought on by Councilmember Jacobs. Heads up for people, but our work session this next week will be on Tuesday. Since Labor Day is on Monday, we usually meet the first Monday of the month, but it is Labor Day, so the offices will be closed. So next Tuesday, we will have our work session and we start our budget process. So if you're interested, everyone is welcome to attend a work session. We do not accept public comment, but you're welcome to sit in and see what happens. And of course, you're welcome to always email us at any time with questions. But the work session is really a time for the council to talk with staff and learn about, what we're going through and ask questions and make requests for the budget. And will that be, do you know, Aaron will be in this room? Is it ready for a work session?
I think, Madam Mayor, we are.
All right.
We've resolved the mechanical issues that we were having last time.
let me-
So it'll be the inaugural work
There's
session.
Some
in-
wood to knock
Yep.
on right there.
Yeah, if not, this will be the backup. If this is having issues, then we have another option
All right.
in the main conference room. So
Great.
We'll
Thank
be-
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for the presentation. Any questions for Joe about the budget process coming up? All right. All right.
yeah,
Back
just a
at
few
you.
more remarks for our city manager update. So staff would also like to thank everyone that was involved in making the grand opening such a successful event. It was very rewarding, super fun. I think several staff had asked, can we do this every year? I think one of the best parts was just interacting with the many residents that came out and, of course, getting to show off the space, but getting to answer questions and have that engagement was really fun. So thank you for everyone that made that possible. We've already mentioned some event cancellations and a successful showing of Black Panther. Communications director said about 50 people did attend that movie in the park on Friday. The final movie in the park is coming up on September 5th, which is Trolls World Tour, sponsored by New Horizon Academy. That movie will take place at McKenna Park at 7:30 PM. There'll be free popcorn while supplies last. And please bring a blanket or lawn chair. And then finally, board and commission application update. So board and commission applications are now available on the city's website and at City Hall. There are 10 openings on the Youth Commission currently and 2 on the city's Economic Development Authority and 1 open position on the Charter Commission. The deadline to apply for these commission spots is September 29th. And that's it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Biskins,
Councilmember Biskins.
September 29th, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. September 15th for the final movie in the park.
Thank you. Were there any questions from the council? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. That completes our reports for the council meeting, which brings us to the community forum. Sarah, do we have anyone who would like to speak tonight? All right, the community forum is the public's opportunity to address the council regarding any matter that has not had a public hearing earlier in the meeting. Speakers that are in person are asked to complete a speaker form at the front table and submit it to the city clerk, Sarah Ion, sitting up front. Once called to the podium, the speaker should state their name and connection to Columbia Heights. Speakers attending virtually should send a request to speak as well as their address and connection to Columbia Heights to the moderator using the chat function and wait to be called on to speak. When speaking, virtual attendees should turn their camera on. All speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes. Personal attacks, threats, the use of profanity, and other disrespectful comments are prohibited. The city council will listen to the public comments, ask clarifying questions, and if needed, request staff to follow up or direct the matter to be added to an upcoming agenda. Generally, the city council will not take official action on items raised at the community forum at the meeting on which they are raised. Sarah, please call the first person up.
Barbara Delaria would like to address the council.
I'm addressing again because I was here 2 weeks ago and I haven't heard a word back from anybody. I don't understand.
Thank you, Barb. Well, we have had some conversations to figure out what the answers are to your questions, so.
I could just provide a quick update, Madam Mayor.
Thank you,
So
Aaron.
there has been several exchanges between the fire department, other staff, and bringing council up to date on progress as well. And we'll be getting a hold of you with the results of that investigation. I think the last email that I saw was actually this afternoon, and someone should be reaching out to you by the end of the week.
Okay, I just wanted to find out what was going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And Sarah, we have Barb's phone number too? Thank you. Okay.
You have it still? I didn't put it on this.
If you wouldn't mind putting it,
I think we have the contact information.
okay.
Dan does. Kathy Gomez would like to address the council.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome.
Boy, this is a long meeting. Whew. Anyway, I'm going to keep it short. I was just wondering if you guys I was here like a month ago about the fence next to my yard. If you guys, I haven't heard nothing about when they were going to take it. And then one other thing, the blacktop in the back or whatever, you know, the alley, haven't heard nothing. One more thing, okay, I don't know, next to the building, the vents, why are they so loud? I mean, if I have the air conditioner on in my house, I can still hear it. I mean, it's annoying. For 24 hours, I have to have my windows, like today, I had them open. I get headaches and I gotta shut them because they're just too loud. Why?
I would like to address all of those items if I could, Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you, Aaron.
just to
Thank
help
you, Kathy.
the conversation on. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Gomez. So all of these items in one way or another are related to our working with the developer of the project to bring resolution to all of those.
Could you just explain like what area of the city we're, just to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about? I'm
Oh,
aware, but I want to make sure we
correct.
all know.
So all of these issues are happening on the east side of this project, so the eastern property line of this building.
Thank you.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and Ms. Gomez's house is right next to the ratio project, the closest neighbor on Gould to the project. So well, let me just start by saying all of the issues brought are in conversation and in various states of negotiation with Alatus to bring resolution. So they have an exterior walkthrough of the building that is going to take place in September. I don't have an exact date, but going around with project engineers and the contractors to address all of the known issues, and these are included in them amongst several others. So we know the fence will be removed. It's a portion of chain link fence that was part of the temporary security fence for the construction. The builder put up another fence in between the project and that chain link, and somehow it got overlooked. So that will be removed. The blacktop for the alley. So the city needs a little bit of time to design a full layout of that area, because I think we want to incorporate some parking and a fence along the adjacent house and some other improvements, because what's left is actually city property. The alleyway has been reconstructed. It's right along the building, and then it turns over. So that is all compliant with the project plans. We have a lot of dirt that has to be removed, gravel, and then we're gonna bring in grass and some additional pavement, and we anticipate that we'll put some parking back there for city use, for staff and council overflow, so that you will always have access. And I appreciate that, and I apologize that the gravel still is there. It will be there through this winter, but it will always be plowed. So that same corridor, you will have access. We'll keep it clear. And it functioned last year. I think we just need a little more time to fully design that. Yeah.
Could you just come up to the podium just so we can hear you better? Thank you. That's okay. You can totally sit down between.
With you saying about the plowing.
Yeah.
Is there any way that they can, here's like, used to be the alley go like this and that way?
Yep.
Like to join the alley that don't have no, whatever, no access?
Right, it just dead
So-
ends.
So last year, they actually came off of 40th and just plowed it into those, the stone, the bricks, and that's it.
Mhm.
And then they didn't plow it this way. So we had to do it.
Okay.
We had to like get our snow blowers out and try, and the way they plowed it, and there's no way, they should have been able to go like that, like how they used to.
How they used to, okay. I will work with Public Works Department to clarify and make sure that now that construction's over, that we're all on the same page with plowing and access, and that the expectation would be that that alley is maintained and
Right.
cleared by the city.
Right.
It's an interesting situation and less than perfect, a small dead end that it's been problematic, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, it's a
So,
dead end. That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Right there is a dead end, but we
Gotta clear
it's an
it.
alley. We gotta get out. There's only
Absolutely.
two houses on it.
Right.
Mine and
So we'll get that resolved and get your access maintained. Thank you for your patience. As to the fan, so the fan in question is an exhaust fan for the CO2 to exit the garage. So it is very loud, and we know that it is an issue, and we're looking for engineering solutions to that. And there's a variety of solutions that are being discussed. We just need to fully vet those. I think sound attenuation, acoustic panels applied directly to the outside is a likely solution to see if that is enough of a mitigating strategy. We're also looking at sound deadening material that would be installed on a fence installed by the city that's between the property directly to the east and the building. It's something that wasn't anticipated. The layout for that HVAC equipment wasn't known at the time of the site planning approvals. So it's now there and we absolutely have to deal with it. So we're working, we're collaborating, and I do apologize for the nuisance as it stands, but we will fix it. So thank you, and please hang in with us on all of these issues. They are actively being discussed, and
Mhm.
that's the only comments that I have right now.
I took a tour back there. It is quite loud, but as Aaron says, staff has been working on it. So a council or a community member brought it up to me. And when I brought it up to staff, they said, oh, we know we're trying to work on it. So I know you guys are working to see what they can do, and it's different than when you were expecting it to be. So thank you. Thank you. Sarah?
Diane Meyer would like to address the council.
Welcome.
Madam Mayor and Council, I'd just like to bring up an issue that has come about in the last month. For some of you that know, Council especially, about the neighbor next door that I have had to deal with for over 5 years. And I found out by doing some follow-up or figuring some things out that this has kind of become a one-man operation somewhat of knowledge and how to make this happen. But you can't take a person that is already a city employee and give that person this whole bag of junk to deal with, besides doing their own job and besides running a department here in the city. And I would really like the council and I like to look at that to please try and get at least one more person trained to what this individual that does this can train someone so there's not one person out there trying to find all this out. It has been a sore spot. We've had more and more traffic. We've had people stop and say, what's happening next door to you? Why is it still this way? I just say, we're working on it. I don't want to get into a fight with the neighbor or whatever, but I really appreciate if the council will look at this, because a one-man operation is not going to cut it. We have a lot of rental, and I think the city's working hard to clean up what maybe was mishaps before, but you can't do it with one person. It's just not feasible. And renting is going more and more in the city, and it doesn't matter which area you live in, but we need that help. We need 2 other people, and I know it's a budget issue, but bring them in, train them to all the bits and pieces so that this group can run efficiently and not be stumbling over or trying to figure out. I am very blessed that I have a good friend that he's very patient with me and we're very patient with him. So I would really appreciate that you guys really look at this, because the more rent that goes in, the more problems, unless we can get on top of it and hire 2 people that learn how to do all this versus just throwing paper out to everyone. And I know that most of you have gone by my home numerous times. I wish I had a chalkboard so I could just knock out how many people come by or stop us and ask us what's wrong. We chose not to engage with the people because it only makes it worse. So I just appreciate it. I hope at a work session, you guys can talk about this because it's really important for this city. And unless we get more help, it's only going to get worse. And I've been here 35 years, so I've seen it all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Catherine Vesley would like to address the council.
Thank you. Welcome, Catherine.
Well, thank you. I see from reading the work session minutes that you've already decided on this issue, but I thought I'd make a couple of comments about outside searches. In 30 years in academia, I've been on more outside search committees than I care to remember. And the same thing is true of my husband, Dr. Donald Vesley at the University of Minnesota. Everything from deans to faculty members to administrators to you name it, including maintenance people. I would point out, since you're going to do an outside search, I presume you are limiting it probably at least to the 5-state area or possibly the metro area. Don't do it nationally, for God's sakes. That's a real mistake and it's very expensive. And so often, the person who you decide on is not cognizant of the culture of the area in which this person is going to work. People from the coast do not always work terribly well in the Midwest because we have a different way of looking at things, often in the Midwest than New Yorkers do and Californians do, or people from the Deep South, frankly. And this is not a comment on race or ethnicity or anything. This is just a comment on culture. The second point I would like to make is quick, is that it's expensive. The wider the search, the more expensive. And often the less successful the candidate, which is very, very interesting, I think. But I can probably do a statistical analysis of the ones I've been on and show you exactly what I mean. So that's something else you might want to consider. Also, the person that you hire should have a feeling for small, well, I shouldn't say small, 22,000 population communities like Columbia Heights. A person from New York or Los Angeles is probably not going to have the kind of mental set that is going to enable this individual to deal well with the kind of problems that a small community, and we are small, I mean 22,000 roughly, has. So that is something else to consider when you do this, since you've decided. The only other point, let's see, is that just because they come and just because you give them a contract doesn't mean they're going to stay. And so it is often unfortunate, but it is reality that in 2 or 3 years, they decide this is not something they want, or they were looking for the position of city manager and now wish to climb up the ladder because they have done this particular thing. We had this happen a number of times with directors of things like art centers, which I've been on search committees for. They wanted to say they were a director of something so they could go on to a larger organization, a bigger city, a more prestigious university, you name it. So that is also something to consider. And the last point is that if you had good qualified candidates who are local, who work for the city, they may resign. You may not have them after this is done if they don't come out on the search. They may very well do another thing. So I just would point these comments out to you, as I said, having been a veteran of all this kind of thing, having my husband come home tearing his hair about the results of the search committee, not happy at all. But on the other hand, sometimes you can get an excellent person. That is true. So good luck.
Thank you.
Wayne Morrell would like to address the council.
Welcome.
My name's Dwayne Morrell. I'm a resident. I've got a number of questions that can be answered quick. First, for the chief, is the SRO going to be at the schools or not? I couldn't hear exactly what you're saying. It sounded like the contract was ending and there's not going to be any.
Right now, effective, right now, the school resource officers will be reassigned and will not be in the schools.
Who is there in the police department who can talk to the bus drivers? It seems that they're running a little loose when they're traveling 50 miles an hour on Reservoir Boulevard with students or without students. It seems rather careless. And I think if a police officer is in continual contact with them, it may enforce the idea that they should obey the speed limit law, especially with your most precious resources. Would that make sense?
I would
Is
also,
there anyone at the school who can do that also?
I would recommend you contact the school district about this issue as well, since they also hold a contract. And obviously we look at speed enforcement very seriously, especially when it comes to school buses.
Okay, I take issue with that though, because I've been watching this for a long, long time. One quick question, does the police department have an all black Dodge Charger? Or is that someone appearing to be a unmarked police car?
We do not have an all-black Dodge
Okay,
Charger.
very good. I had a comment, I was preparing a comment about the exhaust fans. I found that myself, just biking back and forth. I think I went down to the old city offices, not realizing everything was up here. Also, Mayor, there's no sign or signage for the city offices. Is that because this is a residential building and you can't have a signage?
No, it's on order. If you want to mention,
Yeah,
answer
Madam
that.
Mayor,
Okay.
good question. We have several signs on the way. There's been a difficulty in working with our sign contractor that is delayed beyond what we expected, but I'm told the project is going to start, I think, within the next week, actually, or in and around September 11th. But several wayfinding signs for the parking, which is going to be a learning curve that we're aware of. And then City Hall graphics, logos, and identifying signage on both Central and 40th Avenue.
Okay, and Mayor, you do not have an office in this building? Where is your office, or
We do
do
have it.
you just do it online or telephone or?
We do have two spaces that we can use. And so one of those spaces will be a mayor council office. So we can schedule time to meet with people.
Oh, okay.
And it's not fully moved in yet, so. But it was not built to be the mayor's office necessarily, but we are adjusting.
Okay, and I made this comment to one of the developers or builders at the open house. The plants on the north side are completely inappropriate. They're techie arborvitaes. They grow 16 to 20 feet tall when mature, and they have maybe 10, 15-foot branch spread at the base. From the inside, you're not going to see anything but trunk. From the outside, the branches are going to encroach on the sidewalk. Completely inappropriate. Global arborvitaes appear to be the best thing you can put there because it's evergreen year round. So I just wanted to make that point. Also, I would like to encourage the city to reconsider its yard waste container program. I said that long time ago when it first started up. I had actually figured out how the city could buy and sell to the residents who wanted those containers. And it was a nominal fee. It was not an open rental program. And one-time charge, the city gets a processing fee. And then you eliminate the, let's see, I can't remember, the college kids who are running around in the trucks and they have to manually throw the branch bundles and the bags into their truck. Their truck is underwhelming. It's for their purposes, general purposes, I guess, but for picking up yard waste when people have 20 or 30 bags in their yard, it's not a good situation. And I talked to those kids and they are tired of the arrangement. The city needs to do something. We should have enough money to get them a vehicle of some sort so that they're not throwing the bags into their truck. If they're going to be part of this process, I would appreciate you take it seriously because you're wearing them out. And if their Waste Management was the worst company to handle that, and they were doing it manually, but they had the back end loaders, which was much easier than what the college kids. So it's much worse now than it was even with Waste Management. Is Kevin Hansen still in running for the city manager position? I heard that at the open house.
He is our interim city manager. I don't know, Aaron, if, how we would
I
answer that
don't know what the
question.
situation is. Is interim until he just gets appointed? to that
Interim,
position?
interim, we voted that he would be the interim city manager until we make a choice
A
to
choice.
decide who will have the responsibility of the full-time city manager.
I wouldn't add anything else other than the city is preparing a search to offer the opportunity to outside candidates, and Kevin may or may not participate in that
Okay,
process.
if I can make my comment, I've prepared 7 incidents which convinced me that Kevin is not the person to appoint to the city manager position. I don't want to go into them right now because it sounds like it's held in abeyance or something's going on. The 2 women who talked to me prior, or talked prior to me, didn't say their connection to the city. And I would appreciate that because some of them had, the last woman, I couldn't tell what she was talking about, what position she was talking about, being a search committee person. And I didn't know if that was for the city manager or some other position in the city. And if you could make sure that they state their connection to the city, it would be much, it would be effective.
Thank you.
And my last comment, all of you look underwhelming when I'm seated in the gallery. And that's because of the height of this counter that you're behind. It's like talking heads. And it doesn't look good. And it would be nice to see the people you're dealing with on a regular basis. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Sarah, do you have anyone else who would like to speak? All right.
So Kay, you're gonna need to unmute yourself and you're gonna need to turn your video on.
Looks like her video's on.
Am I on?
Can you change the screen so we can see her?
Am I on? Can you hear
I
me?
think, Kay, you were our first Zoom community forum speaker, so we are just going through the tech together.
All right.
We can see you now, Kay. Oh, just one moment, Kay, you're still muted though.
Oh, okay.
That should work. Oh, one more time, Kay. If you can unmute yourself one more time. Kay?
Yes.
Try saying something, Kay.
I am trying to unmute this
Okay.
and it isn't
We're not
working.
hearing you, but we can see that you're not muted anymore. Is our volume turned on? We don't really have any way, do we have any way to test the volume is coming in from Zoom? Be patient a second, Kay. We're trying to see if there's anything on our end.
What I see here is just mute.
Could someone else try Zoom?
No, there isn't anybody else here. I'm alone.
Councilmember James is home sick. She said she can hear Kay talking on Zoom. Thank you for your patience, Kay. We're just going through some things here. Still not working, Kay. We can see you talking though.
Once I do unmute, it goes on mute.
It just bugs in the system still. Yeah.
Hey, could you see if you could talk?
Well, I got wiped out. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Kay, we can hear you.
Okay, well, if you can hear me, that's fine. I've got something to read. Can I proceed?
Yes, please do.
All right.
It's very quiet, but we can hear you.
You're gonna
All
have to
right.
From my microphone.
I live on 50th and a half here in Columbia Heights. On July 15, I wrote a letter to the mayor and also to the council people. Mayor Amata, City of Columbia Heights, I sent it at the 40th Avenue Northeast address. And so I would like to read the letter that I wrote. The mayor was the only one that got this, but I included the council members. And at this time, I do have copies that the council members can get. So I want to read the letter that I wrote. It said, "Dear Madam Mayor and council members, I am writing you to express my acknowledgement on the appointment of Kevin Hansen as interim city manager for the remainder of 2023. I have had opportunities to contact Kevin on different occasions, and he was very knowledgeable and professional, and his experience in his previous position was very much appreciated. When the City of Columbia Heights was honored with the 2016 All-American City Award, Kevin's hard work attributed it to this award, as well as many others working together. With Kevin's work experience, he should become the city manager, thus avoiding a search of this position. Continuity for the city manager position for Columbia Heights is needed at this time. My husband, he's now deceased, and I, with our 5 children, have lived on 50th and a half Avenue in Columbia Heights since 1962. Our children attended Columbia Heights Public Schools, receiving an exceptional education, and we as parents stress to them the importance of being good citizens of the community. 4 of the children worked at food establishments, Tasty Pizza, Bridgman's, Mr. Steak, and Country Club Supermarket. Listed below is our participation in the community. Mr. Hanley, Vice President of the PTA at Valley View School. He was a booster member for the youth hockey and also at the high school level. Myself, I volunteered as a room mother at Valley View. I was secretary for the relicensing committee for the teachers and the staff at the high school and the whole Columbia Heights School District. And belonged to social justice and the choir and the church. I was an election judge for 30+ years in this community. I was a block captain and also attended the National Night Outs. And I also was on the comprehensive plan in the late 1990s. In closing, I believe Kevin Hansen should be the permanent city manager with the wealth of experience and knowledge he has for the city of Columbia Heights. Avoiding a search for the position and the continuity for this important position is a great concern at this time. And I signed my name. So at this point, I will make copies, and so the city council people will get it too. I inadvertently didn't send them copies, but at this point I will. So this is all that I have to say.
Thank you, Kay. We appreciate you reading the letter for everyone to hear. And thank you so much for your patience while we figured out the Zoom audio.
That's fine. I'm more than welcome to wait here and share my time with you.
Thank you, Kay.
You're welcome.
And Sarah, do we have anyone else who would like to speak? All right. Okay, and no one else in the audience here would like to speak, as everyone already has? All right, then. Thank you. May I have a motion then to adjourn the meeting? I have a motion by Councilmember Bizgins and a second by Councilmember Jacobs to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.